Thank you for the introduction. For those of you who haven't joined my presentations before, I also have a spinal cord injury, and so it's a chronic disability. I use a wheelchair for mobility, which is what got me interested in working with nutrition for people with neurological conditions, because at the time when I was injured 34 years ago, nutrition was not part of the long-term rehabilitation process for people with any kind of neurological condition, whether it was acute care, rehab, or long-term. It just wasn't part of the process. And that's why I felt it was a key element that was missing in rehabilitation for various neurological conditions. And so I went to school to become a nutritionist in this area. So a lot of what I talk about, I live and apply to my own life. And it certainly made a massive difference in my independence, level of function, reduction of pain, reduction of headaches. So I literally live what I speak here. So let's get started. And if we can leave questions to the end, that would be great. So as we just mentioned, we're going to be talking about liver love today, which might sound a little unusual as an organ to talk about during an entire presentation, but it really is an organ to pay special attention to after sustaining any kind of long-term disability, health condition, in order to maintain your overall health. And it is my favorite organ that I like to talk about because it's really so complex and does so much for our entire body. Like it's incredible how many functions and jobs and role this organ has. And I'm going to go over several of them today. So if we can go on to the next slide. As always, the information that is provided in this presentation is not meant to offer medical diagnoses or advice or substitute for any medical or other professional healthcare treatment. The nutritional information and recommendations are intended to provide you with a foundation of nutritional knowledge and helpful nutritional tips and strategies that you can use to complement your existing healthcare routine and regime. I strongly advise that you consult with your medical or healthcare practitioner before starting any dietary changes or introduction of any of the supplements that I may mention, as some of them do have interactions with medications that you may be on. So it's always best to consult with your healthcare provider first before starting anything new. Okay, so let's get started with the agenda. So as you can see on the next slide, the agenda, what we're going to go over today are the critical roles that your liver plays, how your liver functions, why your liver may be overburdened following an acquired brain injury, the essential nutrients your liver needs to function optimally, and at the end, I've provided some liver-loving recipes that you can make at home. Okay, so I want to start with a few critical roles and fascinating highlights about your liver. And let's start with some factoids on the next slide here. Your liver is the largest solid organ in the body. The biggest organ is your skin, but in terms of a solid organ, it's your liver. It is, as I mentioned, one of the most complex organs in the body. And fascinating, it can actually regenerate. And it's located in the upper right abdominal cavity between your gut and the rest of the body. And it's meant to help prevent the passage of bacteria to any parts of your body into your bloodstream to help prevent infection, diseases. And I'm going to go over some other details of that in a moment. Next slide. Your liver has over 500 jobs in your body. So it's a busy, busy organ. And just for some example here, number one, it synthesizes, it secretes, and it regulates things like glucose. It uptakes glucose, minerals, and vitamins from your blood and stores them. It produces cholesterol and bile, which I'm going to talk about a little later on. So it's very busy producing and synthesizing various things that we need in our body every single day. The other thing it does is it stores things like glucose in the form of glycogen. Glycogen is the stored form of glucose. It also stores vitamins D, E, A, and K, folate, vitamin B12, copper, and iron. So it stores all of those for us as well. And it also, number three, this is what it's most known for, is the transformation, clearance, and purification of various things that we either inhale or ingest in our body. So once food enters the bloodstream, once we've eaten it, it first goes to the liver to be cleared and detoxified. Here, harmful substances, as well as things like hormones, are removed from the blood and then broken down and transformed into less harmful compounds. And it includes things like drugs. Drugs are also broken down in the liver. And if you have an insufficient liver function, if it's not well, it can lead to things like hormonal imbalances. And for women, it can lead to PMS if we have an excess estrogen in our system. If our liver isn't clearing estrogen, for example, it can lead to things like PMS. And only the liver can purify the blood. Some other key functions of the liver is it converts thyroid hormone from T4 into the active form of T3. It creates something called glucose tolerance factor. It activates B vitamins into energy. We need B vitamins for energy production. It converts something called lactic acid. If you've worked out really hard in your muscles, it converts lactic acid from toxic waste into a storage fuel. And it manufactures carnitine, which escorts fats into things called the mitochondria to create energy for us. So you can see here on these previous slides just how busy your liver is every single day. But here's why it's important for us to take care of our liver following an acquired brain injury or a spinal cord injury. This is why it's really important. Your liver is your most important organ for detoxification. It's continuously processing all substances from your digestive tract, from your respiratory tract, and the rest of your body, even creams and lotions and potions that we put on our skin. Every single day, it has to deal with pollutants in our air, food additives and things we might be consuming, drinking water, any impurities in our water, pesticides from foods that we eat, endotoxins, which are things like yeast, bacteria, viruses, as well as medications. If we can go to the next slide, you'll see all these liver stressors that our liver is dealing with every single day. And some of these are quite toxic. And it's really amazing because the liver can determine what it needs to do with them. Your liver is very good at deciding what it needs to be kept, what needs to be removed. And it actually functions like a massive chemical plant that manufactures certain compounds, detoxifies dangerous ones, and it directs substances all over the body. And like I said before, it can be used for storage, excretion. It's incredible what it's doing every single moment. So the last one here, medications in red, I've put that in red there. And if we can go to the next slide, please. The reason I bolded that is because after an injury, people are often on medications that they weren't consuming pre-injury. And often it can be multiple medications at various dosages every single day. And it could be things like morphine for pain, ibuprofen for pain or headaches, antibiotics for infection, steroids for inflammation, acetaminophen again for things like headaches or pain. So these all put extra burden on our liver to break down, detoxify, as I was saying, because medications are detoxified through our liver. And if we go to the next slide, please. So in order to help your liver to clear all these medications, I first want to explain a little bit how your liver functions, how it works, so you can have a better understanding why it's important to eat certain foods to help your liver clear these excess medications that we may be taking. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Your liver has two pathways in order to detoxify. And they're called phase 1 and phase 2 pathways. So you can think of phase 1 there, you can see, as being responsible for breaking down things. And then they send these broken down raw materials to phase 2. Phase 2 will also help break them down, but what it does is it also builds new substances from the raw materials and adds molecules to them to be packaged out, to be either redistributed throughout our body, or excreted. So to give you a brief overview, I want to talk about the liver's two detoxification phases because each phase is responsible for detoxifying specific medications that you may be taking. So next slide, please. You can see phase 1 detoxifies things like codeine, warfarin, amitriptyline, steroids, ibuprofen, and acetaminophen. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, it actually helps detoxify things that, well, it has 7 different pathways. So phase 2, there's 7 different pathways. Each of those 7 pathways is responsible for the breakdown of specific substances. I'm not going to go through all 7 of those pathways today, but I want to go through 2 of them in phase 2 because they do have implications for a lot of common medications that people take after injury. And that is if we can go to the next slide, please, the acetylation. Oh, sorry. Okay, so one back. Okay, if we just go, there we go, acetylation. So this detoxifies sulfa drugs that people often take after you have an infection or if you've got an infection to clear up infections. So this is what this particular pathway in phase 2 helps detoxify. So we want to make sure this pathway has the right nutrients to clear sulfa drugs. The next one, the glucuronidation pathway in phase 2, it detoxifies things like morphine and muscle relaxants. Maybe some of you are on things like baclofen. So that's what this glucuronidation in phase 2 will help clear. The other role I want to talk about is the role of bile. So I'm sure you've all heard of bile. The liver produces about a pint of bile a day. Bile is required to digest fats and in turn absorb 4 fat-soluble vitamins. So vitamins D, E, K, and A. If our liver is not functioning well and we're not getting enough bile output from our liver to digest fats and absorb these 4 fat-soluble vitamins, it can actually lead to deficiencies in our system and can lead to other issues. Just for an example, the 4 fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D is responsible for helping absorb calcium. So it's needed to help prevent osteoporosis and help keep our bones really strong. So the next one, vitamin E, this is a very powerful antioxidant that can help reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. Vitamin A, also another really powerful antioxidant, but it's also important for collagen production. And vitamin K is necessary for blood clotting. And it also plays an important role in our bone health. So you can see if you don't have enough bile output, if your liver's not functioning well, not enough bile output, you're not digesting your fats properly, your fats aren't absorbing these 4 vitamins well, it can contribute to other secondary health complications like I was just mentioning, like bone health, cardiovascular disease. So the other thing that good bile output can do, especially for people who are taking a lot of pain medications, because we know that pain medications can often constipate us, is bile actually plays a really important role in helping to put water into our stool and keep our stool soft so it's easier for excretion. So it has like a mild laxative effect to help prevent constipation. So it's really important that our liver's working well for all of these reasons. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So for all the reasons I just discussed, the different phases, the different pathways, and the bile production, your liver needs certain nutrients to function well and perform all of these duties. So I want to go through the various foods, the various nutrients to help your liver function, detoxify, create bile, and do all these wonderful things to keep us independent and functioning well. So foods that help stimulate phase 1 of liver detoxification are things called cruciferous vegetables. And these tend to be kind of the smelly, sulfur-rich vegetables like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. Why are these particular vegetables important for phase 1 detoxification? Because they contain a compound called indole-3 carbinol, and that actually stimulates phase 1 of your liver detoxification. Also, though, foods like lemons, oranges, and limes contain a phytochemical called limonene that also stimulates phase 1 detoxification. So, if you want to have some lemon water, eat your oranges, have some, squeeze some lime on your favorite vegetables, and get those vegetables listed there in your diet several times a week. Then you're helping to get your phase 1 liver detoxification working really well. The next slide, I talked about the 2 specific pathways in phase 2 that tend to clear medications that we're commonly on. The acetylation pathway, nutrients required for this pathway to work optimally are vitamins B1, and you can find B1 in foods like sunflower seeds and legumes. Of your favorite legumes are chickpeas, kidney beans. Vitamin B5 you can find in things like mushrooms and avocado, and vitamin C. Now we know citrus fruits are really good for vitamin C, but also green leafy vegetables, red and green peppers have really great vitamin C contents as well. So again, if you can snack on some sunflower seeds, have avocados and red green peppers, mushrooms several times a week, you're going to be stimulating this acetylation pathway. The next one, the glucuronidation pathway that I mentioned earlier. So the nutrients to help this phase, this pathway in this phase 2 are glucuronic acid. This is a derivative of glucose. And a great food source of this is Jerusalem artichokes. If anybody likes artichokes, then the Jerusalem artichokes, you can make nice dips from this and get that into your diet on a regular basis. There's also something called calcium D-glucarate. This is an extract found in apples, oranges, and broccoli. So again, snack on apples several times a week, get lots of broccoli in your diet. It's great for all sorts of nutrients, great fiber, but this will help stimulate this glucuronidation pathway as well. So I know this is a lot of information. You guys can have access to these slides. You can have the list of all the foods that I'm talking about. And I also want to mention some other things that can help with your overall liver function. And if we can go to the next slide, please. These are antioxidants. So I said there's 2 phases to liver detoxification, phase 1 and phase 2. When your liver is breaking down certain compounds and it's going from phase 1 to phase 2, it creates things called free radicals. I don't know if anybody's heard of free radicals, but what they are is they're unpaired electrons, and they can cause microscopic damage to our arteries, to our tissues. So what you want to do is have lots of antioxidants in your system because they neutralize free radicals. And we get antioxidants from things like vitamins A, C, E, and something called glutathione. So we want to make sure we have these in our diets as well. And you can see a list of foods there that have these nutrients. So berries are wonderful for vitamin C. You've got asparagus, avocado is wonderful, kale. So as long as you can get lots of these nutrients in your system every day, every week, then you're helping to neutralize those free radicals and help protect your liver, because free radicals can be damaging to all sorts of tissues in our body and our arteries, including our liver cells. Okay. Now the next slide, I talked about bile and the importance of bile for helping carry those fat-soluble vitamins around our system, and also having a mild laxative effect and helping us stay regular. So some foods and some nutrients that can help with bile production are things called choline. So choline is part of the B vitamin family, and it's found in things like egg yolks, butter, peanuts, potatoes, cauliflower, lentils, oats, sesame seeds, flax seeds, and also something called methionine. And this is an amino acid, which helps with the metabolic function. And it's found in things like eggs, chicken, and beef. So if you can have like maybe, 4 to 8 eggs a week. And if you want to make sure you get the egg yolk in there, it's got the choline. And it's also really actually good for brain health. It's got something called lecithin in there, which is great for brain health. So again, just for good bile production, you might want to rotate some of these foods through your diet on a weekly basis, okay? And On the next slide, I wanted to give you a couple of other ideas of things to incorporate into your regular diet to keep your livers healthy. And that is fiber. So fiber promotes proper elimination and it helps rid the body of toxins. So a diet that is rich in things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes will help eliminate toxins in your system. So ultimately, if you are not eliminating on a regular basis and you've got waste matter sitting in your colon, those toxins can be reabsorbed into your bloodstream and they have to pass through your liver again to be detoxified. So it's putting excess burden on your liver. So if you have lots of fiber in your diet and you eliminate those toxins on a regular daily basis, then you're just helping your liver function, and your overall body health is also going to really benefit from that. Because when you have a lot of toxins floating around your system, it can just make you feel really tired. It can really deplete your energy levels. The other things here, just to be careful of, and I'm sure when you've gone to the pharmacy or you've spoken to your physician, if you've had certain prescriptions given to you, they might warn to not have grapefruit or drink grapefruit juice. And the reason for this is that it contains a compound that can actually inhibit the drug metabolization in phase 1. So what it can actually do, if you're drinking, say, lots of grapefruit juice or eating lots of grapefruits and you're having certain medications, then if you're not able to break down those medications as they're meant to be broken down in a certain timely manner, then those medications can actually increase in their potency. And so you want to make sure that your medications are cleared as they should be. So if you have a lot of grapefruit juice and you're drinking it, it can actually take up to 3 days for your liver to start clearing medications properly again. It can actually reduce liver detoxification up to 30%, which is quite significant. So really look at the warnings, packaging when you get your medications. If it says anything about grapefruit on it, it's really meant to be taken very seriously. It can have a huge effect on medications. So you want to make sure those medications are processed properly. Okay, the other thing you want to do to help your liver work really well on the next slide here is avoid excessive caffeine. Up to 2 coffees a day is fine, but it does put extra burden on your liver, as do a lot of processed foods with artificial flavors, colors. Like I said, everything we eat and drink and breathe goes through our liver to be detoxified. So if you're eating a lot of processed packaged foods that have to be broken down, and all of these processed ingredients need to be broken down, it's just extra burden on your liver. So junk foods, fast foods, and trans fats as well. So eating a whole food diet can really help your liver in so many ways. And a couple of supplements I want to mention on the next slide. And again, always consult with your physician before introducing any new supplementation, but things that can really help your liver are vitamin C, 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day in divided doses. If you have a vitamin C supplement in 500 milligrams, maybe take 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. To bowel tolerance though, vitamin C can soften stool. So be careful about that. If you notice your stool is getting too soft, you might want to back off a little bit in the vitamin C. Vitamin C is also great for collagen production for your immune system, so that's great. I mentioned those cruciferous vegetables earlier containing the compound indole-3-carbinol. You can actually get that in a supplement form. So you might see I3C in the supplement section. That is the indole-3-carbinol. You can buy that in a health food store in your pharmacy. And there's also something you might have heard called silymarin. This is an extract of milk thistle, and it helps protect the liver from damage and enhances detoxification. And what's recommended is 70 to 210 milligrams 3 times a day. Again, always check with your healthcare provider first before introducing any new supplements. So those are all the nutrients that you might want to consider in terms of getting into your diet on a daily, weekly basis to help protect your liver, particularly if you know you're on a lot of medications, which most of my clients are for pain and other reasons. And what I've done is I've included a couple of recipes here that you can introduce, and it has a lot of the nutrients that I talked about. And if we go through them, The first one here is detoxifying frittata. So as you can see, it's got eggs, it's got a lot of the vegetables in there that enhance liver detoxification. I love this recipe because it's great for leftovers as well. And when I work with my clients, I don't like to give a lot of complicated recipes. I like things that are simple, fast, and easy, but have lots of great leftovers and that are really easy to heat up in the microwave for a minute later, and you can eat throughout the week for lunch and dinner. So this is a really great, easy recipe you can have and get lots of great leftovers on. And the next one, the next recipe here is a cleansing coleslaw. So it's got the cabbage in there with the indole 3-carbinol and lots of other vegetables in there with lots of fiber to help the elimination process. And again, things like coleslaw, you can keep in the fridge for up to 5 days. Obviously, you don't need to reheat it. It is great for leftovers. It's very, very filling, and it's got so many other health benefits to it. So those are my recipes that you can include and incorporate into your diet on a regular basis and help take care of your liver. The other thing I want to say is lemon water. And this is just so easy. If you can squeeze a half to a full lemon in a pitcher of water, keep it in the fridge. Vitamin C, lemon's got vitamin C in there, and it's great for helping detoxify your liver throughout the day, throughout the week. So, whether you keep a pitcher in your fridge or you keep your clean canteens that you want to take with you and just drink throughout the day, it's really easy just to get those lemons or even limes if you don't like lemon. Lemons, limes, or both into your water and just drink throughout the day and get a little extra vitamin C in there. And then that's my presentation on your little liver love. Help protect your liver.